In the top right spawn location here of Frost, getting what he was probably wishing for in a cross spawn position, we have our red Zerg player Snute. And in the bottom left, he'll be cursing the StarCraft gods as soon as he finds out about the spawns. We have our blue Terran player representing Team Empire. It is Happy.
So, currently, if we look at the map score, we can say things are going very well for Snute. He's sitting there being like, damn, if you'd ask me where I'd like to be in map number 3, he'd be thinking cross spawns on Frost, 2-0 up. That's good times. Now, for Happy, as it looks on paper, it's been a really bad series for him so far. But for anyone who's been here for the entire time, actually it hasn't been that poor. He's done some great offensive pushes. He's got really close. He's been really close, actually, throughout both games at times. And so Happy's definitely got the potential to do this. Getting to that kind of 3 base position, though, and then finding it a bit difficult to try and transition past that kind of mid-game push. And Snute is definitely the sort of player who's exceptionally comfortable in the later stages.
Now, Happy, also a guy who is definitely comfortable to play into the later stages of the game. I'm not surprised to see him going for a CC first here, and this... I'm trying to remember if I've ever actually seen Happy not CC first on a 4-player map versus Zerg. I'm not entirely sure, not in my recent memory, and there we go, CC coming on down to the low ground here, and against this, Snute obviously just going to be going for hatch first as well. You can 3 hatch before pool versus CC first, but you never really want to do that because, unless you actually scout it, because if you go 3 hatch before pool and they just go Reaper, you're just kind of going to die.
To be honest, this doesn't put you hugely ahead as Happy either, though, because, let's face it, Snute, he's never going to be getting too aggressive here. He's coming out with a drone nice and early, though, just wanting to get that confirmed scouting information about what is going to be coming out. Just making sure there's no proxies or anything like that, or any bunkers trying to come down. Which sounds silly on a 4-player map, but it is something you can do, actually. Especially with a bunker if you've got a Reaper coming down. That can be a right nuisance to deal with.
It really can, and from here, I just want to point out again that we once again have a fairly early gas here. Not quite as early, it wasn't gas before pool this time around. This is the 3-minute gas, which is just the most standard gas timing right around now, I think. And behind this, Happy gonna be going for his own gas here, so he's not gonna opt for like some crazy, ridiculously early 3rd CC before gas or anything like that. But from here, given that it's cross spawns, I feel like Happy kind of has to play bio, even though I said I wanted to see him play mech. I think he has to play bio now.
And if he does, and he does the same sort of push he did last game, he's definitely in with a good shot, because I'd say after killing Snute's 3rd, Happy was in a really nice spot. But what do you think he could have done to capitalize on that more?
I think he was in a really good spot there. The problem is just that Snute was in a really good position to go for a counterattack, and Happy just had no actual defense. And I think the big problem that he actually went with is that, first of all, he didn't remake a CC with like 2,000 minerals. I feel like that would have been a really good decision because, as we saw, Snute was almost able to pick up the starport.
Ooh. Penguin, sorry to interrupt you there, but we've got a 3rd CC coming down ultra early from Happy.
This is, a lot of the Korean Terrans like to go down with this around 5 minutes. This is the earliest non-crazy, ridiculous, you're going to die to anything that's not super macro kind of CC. And going for this part of the wall keeps him pretty safe as well, because there's no way he can like die to Ling run-bys or anything unless he leaves the depots down like he did last game. But overall, Snute here going to be opting for his own 3rd pretty early as well.
Now, this is actually quite cool. Happy is adjusting his playstyle to suit Snute, suit the map, and that's really your best bet. You want to be doing that all the time. Just because the way Happy's been playing at the moment has been somewhat playing into Snute's hands. Getting into that late game stages without him being able to do that much. We've got really late game focused Happy here. He's adding in the double engineering base straight away. I don't think there is more of a mid and late game orientated opening than what Happy's doing right now. Yeah,
this is the greediest play you could possibly go for here. And it's going to pay off here by the looks of it. Snute doesn't look like he wants to be at all that aggressive. He's getting a pretty early 3rd himself, as I already intoned before. And just a lot of drones. He's getting some Lings out here to just maintain some map control. Plus, he needs them to kind of deal with the Hellions. But this is just probably going to go into the later stages of the game pretty passively without too much damage being done. We're going to be seeing double evolution chambers added onto the front here for Snute now as well. A little bit of a Hellion poke here at the front. That's going to be warded away by the Queens. And we actually have a Road Touring coming in for Snute. So He did go for this on Sejong as well, and this could still just be a defensive Roach Warren, but it'll be interesting to see if he opts to go for something like Roach Hydra.
I think this again is just Snute playing a bit more cautious. He says, okay, on King Sejong you got down a huge amount of Blue Flame Hellions. If I just get this Roach Warren early, I'm not going to get caught off guard by that. You got me with a good push in map number 2 as well. It didn't kill me, but it did a lot of damage. So Snute adjusting his playstyle, making sure that he's safe against most things. And that's actually great from Snute as far as I'm concerned, because he is 2-0 up. And if he's playing safe and just goes into a standard game, it's showing that he's confident in his play overall, and that as long as he covers all the bases and doesn't lose to anything outright, he should have this map as far as he's concerned.
We have so much extra production coming on in here for Happy now. I want to point out that we are going to be seeing Roach play out of Snute.
Yep.
He's going for the Roach speed. He's not getting melee upgrades. It's just going to be the single evolution chamber. And just a lot of drones coming out. So this is kind of interesting. I'm not entirely sure how he's going to opt to play this. If he's going to go into Roach Hydra, or if he's going to go into like Macro Roach Bane, like we saw Hyun doing a while ago at the last Home Story Cup. This is going to be really interesting to see. I'm just going to kind of sit back and watch and see what Snute does. Happy, on the other hand, though, looking in a really good spot. His 1-1's nearly done. His armory's already done, so he'll be able to get that 2-2 as soon as that happens. And behind this, we have tons of Raxes. He's up to 5, almost 6 Raxes.
It's worth noting that Snute doesn't have any knowledge that the third base has actually floated down yet. So he doesn't have an Overlord positioned around here to see much. His Overlord hasn't actually scouted the main at all to know what kind of build's coming. Has Snute seen anything that would give away that this is... Oh, wow, never mind. Nidus coming down.
All right,
this is very cool.
This makes a lot of sense to me. And this is going to be really nice. Oh god, there's a corner of the base that doesn't actually have any vision here. I don't think it's big enough to hide a Nidus worm, though.
It shouldn't be.
It shouldn't be. Nidus worms are pretty big. He's probably just going to go for it at a forward position. And, well, we'll see how much damage this can do. If Happy's not on the map, that's not going to be all that great for him. He's not going to be able to focus down that Nidus worm. And so many units already out here. Happy's got to be careful. Where's the Nidus coming on down? It is in base. He sees it and he reacts. This will not finish.
Okay, this is a good response immediately from Happy. It's going to prevent that Nidus coming down. And this is actually a bit annoying for Snute. Nothing drastically lost, though. But it has pulled Happy back off the map, knowing that some kind of aggressive play was coming. And so this just push on the ground is going to be a lot harder to be successful with. Regardless, there's still a lot of stuff here for Snute.
I think he may still try to go for it like in the main summer. Actually, he's going to go for it at the third. I was thinking he may try to distract the Roaches and then go for it at the third with the Queens. The Queens are going to be able to come on out and do some transfuse micro here. But there's so many units already here. 1-1 already done here. We do have the stim going down. Some SCVs pulled the tank, but there's a lot of Roaches in this as well. A couple of medevacs healing up. They are going to help a lot, but is it going to be enough? The numbers are just really, really high here for Snute. More SCVs coming off the line. The Queens are still in that Nidus canal. They're not actually coming on out. There we go. Looks like Happy's driving this back for now.
Is losing quite a few SCVs in order to defend it, though. 16 go down, and that's not an insignificant number. We've also got a Nidus attempting to be made in the main base. Although Happy pulling back Marines in order to come and defend that should be able to snipe it down, since the Roaches won't be able to reach from the low ground.
For a second I was thinking he might try to transfuse with the Queens.
Oh, look at the Lings! They're coming into the third. This is going to hurt.
Lings were just produced. This is going to pick off even more workers here, and the Lings are going to be able to do really well against the Bio as well. There's Baneling Nest that's done. He doesn't have any Banelings yet. The Roach is not engaging with the Lings. That was not a great follow-up to that beginning of that engagement here. 24 workers killed so far. Snute is going to need to morph in a lot of Banelings to make this work. And looks like he is going to be getting on 2 more hatcheries as well. So he wants to be able to macro out of this. He's trying to do enough damage that he can macro here. And some cute little creep spread coming on down, but I don't think that's going to actually have any creep tumors finish.
No, it won't. And I don't actually think that Snute needs to rush this by any means, because he's expanded to a 4th. He knows that he will have done a lot of damage to the SCV count of Happy. It's down to 43 to 69, and regardless of mules, that's still a lot of losses.
No, but Happy is, without a doubt, very far ahead in this game. He's got his 2-2 already against +1, +3 attacks already on the way here. And Snute's being forced to invest a ton of gas in Baneling so he doesn't just straight up die, which means he's going to have a significantly lower Muta count. He's going to be delayed on his tech. And Snute's definitely not dead yet, but he's going to need some great engagements to be able to stay in this game and bring it back.
Scan's coming down, taking out that creep, but look at the Banelings. They've been seen by the Scan. That's really important for Happy, and it looks like he doesn't want to contend with that head-on. And I can't blame him. There's a grand total of 36 Banelings up against 60 Marines. The double drop, though, that's a really nice play.
And, well, we'll see how much damage you can get done. There's a lot of Marines on in there. Looks like it's about 12 Marines and 2 Marauders. And looks like Lings are already there. So this shouldn't get too much damage done. Creep spread is great for Snute once again, which means that he can basically see all of these drops coming. The only kind of blind spot is over to the north, but there's an Overlord over there as well, so he will be able to see anything coming in that way. Overlord spots this bio moving on towards the 4th base. I think what we're going to see is just a push here at the 4th, plus then a drop into the natural, and then Happy kind of banking on Snute not having enough units to defend both sides. And he may well be right in that assumption. Here comes the army.
It's moving and edging forward. There's not much in the way of defense here. There's a lot of Banelings though. And if they get connections, that's going to really hurt. There's 45 Banelings here, Penguin. That is insane.
That's also a lot of gas though. And we do have the drop coming on in here. Looks like the drop's going to go for the 3rd base instead of the natural. Couple of Lings moving on in here. Looks like the main army is going to opt to fall on back. Happy doesn't want to risk a bad trade against those Banelings. As pointed out, there's a ton of them. 13 Mutas on the way here behind this. Snute does have 74 workers compared to the 58 rather of Happy, but his upgrades are still very far behind, and +3 attack is almost done.
Happy gonna be losing, or gonna risk losing a little bit. Now Mutalisks are out, the drops aren't gonna be very effective. Still, lots of creep tumors getting picked away, and this is just nice strategic play by Happy, forcing back the vision of Snute, allowing him to get more aggressive and maintaining the map control. Behind this, as you said, Happy's just about to get the +3 Terran infantry weapons. It's kicked in now. That is a huge upgrade, especially when it's only 1-2 over on Snute's side.
Yeah, because of course well, he does have the Carapace upgrade from earlier. He was only sitting on 1 evolution chamber, so he doesn't even have like double upgrades for the Roaches with like +1 on the Roaches or anything. He's just straight up 2-1 on the Lings, 0-2 on the Roaches, and he's gonna need amazing Baneling connects to make this work. And he knows that, which is why he has so many Banelings. He's giving himself as many chances as possible to get the best engagement. There's a lot of Mutas out here as well, which is going to be important for picking up the medevacs. Mines out as well. If those get good connects on the Banelings, all of a sudden this engagement could go south very, very quickly for Snute. He's going to try to go for a bit of a Muta flyby, I guess. A couple of turrets in here. One is going to be picked down pretty easily. +1 attack for the Muta is almost done as well.
Couple of mines burrowing up. Ingo, a lot of Lings, they're going to try and soak up that damage so the Banelings can close up the distance later on. But Happy's just got a lot of stuff. The army supplies exactly matched at the moment. So the upgrades are going to be a real important move here for Happy. If the Baneling hits are good though, he's still in trouble.
39 on the field with 22 more Banelings in production. Looks like Snute wanted to buy time for his own +2, but it's still too far away here. It's still a good 40 seconds away from completion. He's going to have to go for the engagement. Banelings are going to have to struggle to connect. There is creep, of course, so they will be moving faster. It looks like the 3rd base or the 4th base over here could suffer a big hit, but a lot of the bio clumped up will go down over to the north here, and Happy loses a lot of his supply. There's still a couple of medevacs here in the middle of the map that will be able to boost on home, but overall, he didn't get the base. He killed off a few workers, but that was not really the best engagement there for Happy.
This full medevac sneaking by, but not for very long, gets taken down. And that's the trouble. There's just so many Banelings there for Snute that he only had to get a couple of good connections, and suddenly the army evaporates on the Terran side. Bear in mind, Snute is taking now his 5th base, whereas Happy is only just securing up his 4th. Snute, he's battling his way back into this game. He's probably actually ahead at this stage. The upgrades are a lot closer than they were. The infestation pit's coming down as well. Plus, there's 20 Mutalisks. That's scary enough in itself.
Yeah, 9 more Mutas on the way as well. His Muta flock is starting to get to a point where he can really do a lot of damage if he just finds one little blind spot in the defenses here for Happy. There's still a decent number of these mines up that are finally going to get picked off. They've got a lot of free kills. Another nice little detonation there and a couple of Lings for that final mine. And actually, one of them is going to survive here. 6 kills already.
Nice little drop coming down to the 5th base of Snute. The hatchery should just survive. That is very, very close.
Wow, 12 HP hype.
That was very close. Snute probably wiping a bead of sweat off his brow now, if he could take his hand off the keyboard. But no, this is a very interesting game yet again, and while Snute has kind of battered it back into getting to a nice spot, Happy isn't out of this yet. He's doing a good job of trying to manage the expansions. He's actually got a pretty sizable army up. The only concern is what happens when Snute finishes up this hive.
Yeah, I mean, Happy may be still with an upgrade advantage, but 3-3 against 2-2 is not something that Zergs are all too unfamiliar with playing against. You play a lot of games with 2-2 upgrades against a Terran or 3-3. So from here, The Mutas at this point, the Muta count is high enough. Oh god, those mines would have been so nice if they'd flown on over them. Does get a good number of Mutas on the retreat though, trying to force them over the mines, not quite able to do so. Snute with a bit of a bad trade does lose his 5th base as well to this drop over to the northwest. And while Happy's doing a really good job with all of this expansion management, the fact of the matter is I feel like the value of Snute's army, and if we take a look at that, the value of Snute's army is significantly higher, more than double the gas investment.
Yep. Do you know what is also really important for Snute is while Happy is taking up these expansions nicely, he killed 1 in the top left and 4 more appeared across the map. Snute is just expanding everywhere, and Happy just isn't going to be able to split his army up to kill all of these in times. That's the trouble for Happy.
Happy's relying a lot on these mines as well. He's got 20 supply tied up in mines, and if the mines connect, that'll be excellent. If they don't, all of a sudden, there's not really much that deals well with these banelings. There's a couple of Thors that'll be picked off by the Mutalisks very quickly if the bio is being forced to stim and run away instead of fighting. And overall, Snute's looking more and more solid a position as this game goes on. His own 3-3's on the way. He's got an Ultralisk Cavern and Adrenal Glands coming on up. As you said, 3 more hatcheries in production about to complete as well, which is going to be a lot of Lara and a lot of potential minerals to mine from once his bases start to mine out.
The important thing for Happy is that he can't let his army die right now. If he wants to stay in this game and have a shot, he can't afford to keep losing groups of Marines like that, because he just doesn't really have a huge amount of production or a huge amount to reproduce should this go south for him. If Snute gets a good engagement, if Snute's ridiculous Baneling count connects even half decently with this Terran force, suddenly there's no defensive units. And Snute, with all of these additional hatches, all these lava, Ultralisks, etc., just floods with units and goes to win the game.
Yeah, and even another base being added on here. At this point, Snute's up to how many hatcheries? He's got 1 hive, 7 hatcheries, 1 more hatchery in production. Because why not? And the first Ultra on the way. I feel like we may see Snute throw away a few units here just to be able to get more Ultras in his army. He may just go for a full-on engagement and then a remax. He doesn't have a huge bank, but see what he can get done. Losing a couple of Mutas there to some Thor shots, not ideal, but not terrible either.
Couple of drops coming down now. This is quite nice. Taking out these fringe expansions, and Snute, he won't be able to save all of them. Bringing the Mutalisks over. Actually, may be able to save all of them. I take that back. He split the Mutalisks and Lings brilliantly. And it looks like not a single hatch is going to go down there. And that's the point where you're going to be very happy as a Zerg player and feel confident in how much map control you have at your disposal.
Yeah, and the creep spread is also looking pretty solid. I would say we have a good 30 to 40% of the map actually covered in creep right now, which is pretty ridiculous. And Happy is just, I mean, he does have a decent bank here, so he will be able to like finish up maxing out. He's at 181 supply.
Oh, his 4th.
Oh god, that's disastrous. Yeah, that's basically gonna die. That's gonna be a dead planetary fortress. It's gonna take far too long for the Thors to get back here. Even if these Marines coming in, he can still fight that. He can still fight that, focus down the planetary, but he's actually not gonna opt to do that. No, the Thors
big
actually
Thor's
got
hit.
a couple of nice hits there. 5 Mutas did go down to that.
So nice.
He could have killed that.
Yeah, he could have done. Snute just playing it very cautious. He knows he's should be quite a long way ahead, considering the fact that he's got hatches at pretty much every expansion now. Happy. Where does he go from now? What can he realistically do, Penguin, if he wants to take this game?
He's doing what he can. He's trying to continually manage these hatcheries, pick off the ones he can. The one on the bottom right did go down. This expansion over the top was under pressure once again, but unsuccessfully. And I guess he's going to try to push out across the map with this mass Thor army here. What's his army supply tied up in? 8 Thors. I feel like that's a problem. That's one of his problems right there. I feel like he's got 2 or 3 too many Thors.
Oh, the Mutalisks yet again coming into this 4th base. Marines are frantically trying to get back in order to defend this, but there's only a trickle through of them. Snute has an easy time trying to engage against that, but chooses to back away, seeing those Widow Mines. Actually, no, going back in.
Have been detonated now by those Overseers. And
oh, the Thors.
Yeah, the Thors get some good shots. But actually, I feel like that attack wasn't terrible because wasn't terrible for Happy because he's still got 37 SCVs. He's still got a lot of mule potential, and that's going to open up more army supply where he can kind of use the he's getting 2 more Thors out. I actually think that's a really big problem because they're really immobile, and with 10 Thors, that's 60 supply in Thors. That's just not very mobile against this Mutalisk army on a cross-spawn Frost map.
It's an interesting choice, and the trouble is, while the Thors are going to obviously deal quite well in a head-up fight against that, that's only if Snute actually takes a head-on fight, and he's not going to do that.
I don't think he has to, yeah.
No, there's no need for him to. He can just keep picking off these expansions. He's contained Happy on 4 bases, basically. Even if Snute can't finish off these...
Oh god, that was... no, not too bad. There was not as many Thors in range as I thought. Jesus, Mutas regenerate so fast.
Okay, let's take a look at the base count, because this is actually really quite important. We're sitting with Snute up on 7 hatcheries and a hive. He has tons of expansions. Currently Happy sitting on 4 bases. He's mined out of his natural. Nidus coming down in the natural. That's going to get cleaned up.
Yeah, I mean, Snute at this point, he can throw away the 100 that Nidus worm is going to cost. And I want to remind everyone, speaking of that Nidus, that this actually started with a failed Roach Nidus Queen semi-all-in here. And Snute's done an amazing job to pull it back. He's played an exceptional ZBT. He's going to be able to get another Nidus worm up. Where is that coming in? He's actually bringing it on into that expansion at the bottom right. That's not going to help. That's going to die. Looks like he will lose his hatchery here, but that doesn't matter too much. The engagement here at the middle of the map not quite going to happen just yet, as a bunch of these Ultralisks are on the retreat.
This is all really annoying. Down goes the trouble for Happy right now, and the reason it's so frustrating for him is he's doing everything that realistically he can. He's picking off bases and these expansions with drops, and he's doing a nice job of that. But the trouble is, Snute has still just got such a big bank, he's got so many more expansions, he's got so many Mutas, and such a scary army, that Happy just can't actually move out across the map in order to kill him. Because if...
And the other thing is that, like, Happy needs everything he can get. Like, he's not really got all that many more resources to mine. So what's happening is that Happy is sacrificing resources to kill off these hatcheries that Snute doesn't actually need that much. Like, if this hatchery on red health over to the 11 o'clock dies, Snute doesn't care. There's one right above it. There's one to the right of it. There were a couple down to the bottom right. So Happy is losing resources that are very, very critical to him, while Snute's losing hatcheries that just really aren't.
Happy getting bold, moving across the map, knowing that his current strategy of trying to manage these expansions isn't a long-term plan. He needs to do some considerable damage, if not end the game. But the trouble is, how do you engage into this army? The composition of
How do you engage onto this creep?
Yeah.
Jesus.
Look at it all. It's just everywhere.
We've got to see...
Snute can't have had planning permission for this much.
50% of map is now covered in creep.
And that's insane. It should never get that far, but Snute just staying on top of all of the mechanics, hitting those injects, getting his production well, expanding beautifully, defending those expansions, creep spread. Snute just playing a phenomenal game at the moment.
Now, of course, the one thing that we touched on a little bit before is that Happy does have an army that Snute cannot engage into because of stuff like that. A lot of those Mutas are now on half their health. They're going to have to retreat, regenerate up, which admittedly is only going to take about 10 seconds, but... Oh god, this is actually gonna stop what I was saying there, because there's a gigantic...
Whoa, that might hit.
Detonation on some of the banelings. There's still so many of them, and Snute can afford to remax after this. Actually, Happy can as well. And that actually was not the greatest engagement there for Snute. He's gonna be forced to invest a lot in a remax, and he gets out with a lot of his units, but he lost a lot of banelings there, and overall, resources lost is actually in Happy's favor by about 4,000.
But look at the income penguin. That's the trouble. Snute, he's mining tons compared to Happy. Happy's pretty much... He's mined out of his 3rd base now. He's only got this 4th. And while he does have a decent bank, Snute can just outlast Happy. He doesn't even have to trade particularly cost-effectively. And with Snute only losing 4,000 more resources this entire game, that's still very equal trades overall, considering we're 33 minutes in.
Yeah, I mean, the big thing here is that Happy is going to try to establish a 5th base. This is a pivotal point in the game. Happy needs this 5th base. If Snute can deny that 5th... mines. Okay, he's going to be able to retreat, losing only 1 Muta. But yeah, if Happy does not secure a 5th in the next 3-4 minutes, all of a sudden he can no longer continue to trade. He can no longer continue to trade, no matter how inefficient the trades are for Snute. Looks like with the army positioning, he should be able to secure that base. He's got a lot of turrets coming on up, but he is going to lose his only current mining base. Or at least take some damage at it.
Snute moving in as well, with a lot of these ultras heading up towards the 3rd, or what was the 3rd base, taking down this orbital. Just a bit of a pain, it reduces the number of scans, and we've seen previously this series, Snute be very happy to use borrowed banelings. He's also shredding the production lines, not that much is currently being produced. But this is just irritating.
Really, really nice Thor control for Happy, actually. I want to point this out. That was exceptional Thor control, as he's trading pretty well. He will lose a couple Thors at the end there. But he picked off 50 supply of army, and a lot of that was in the Mutas. There were about 33 Mutas before, or at least 33. There were 22 just now before some of the Mutas spawned. And that was because he split up his Thors into about 3 groups, which is really, really nice. And He's forced Snute back, and Snute's actually used up his entire gas bank here. He needs to start mining gas from these fridge expansions.
And he doesn't actually have... What is his gas income? Okay, so it's 250, so he should have 2 somewhere mining gas. Where are they? It's only actually at his 4th base. It's the only place he's mining gas right now. So as you said, Penguin, this is potentially a little bit of a problem for Snute. Happy just lasting out. He's got his 5th base up now. So actually Happy is getting a decent income thanks to those mules, leveling it out about what Snute's mining on the mineral front. This is a really interesting game.
Just to point out how inefficient that fight was, we pointed out before that Snute had lost 4,000 more resources. Now he's lost close to 7,000 or 8,000 more resources. This is
a lot of Banes.
A pretty committed attack coming in. He will pick off this base with the Banelings if he decides to target down that planetary, and he will. Mutas will be able to run on out now. This is important, because on the one hand, Happy is no longer mining from that base.
Yeah, but he's got spare orbitals he can float over.
But Snute lost a lot of army. Happy still has a sizable army, and Happy can try to push across the map, because the problem, though, is that Happy doesn't know that Snute is this starved.
There's just no gas. What is there actually gas-wise? There's 16 Banelings, not too much of a problem with that many Thors. 3 Ultras, again, that's not too scary. And 27 Mutas, which if they try and engage head-on, are going to have a bad time.
The biggest thing is that there's no real answer to the Lings once the bio gets taken out. There's not that many Marines here. There's actually 29, though, so that's pretty solid. If Snute engages well, he can still do well, because he has so many Lings to tank at this point. He's got burrowed Banelings as well. Losing an Ultra for free is not great. His Mutas are way at the south, though. They are really out of position here. He's up in supply a lot. He just needs to pick off this army, and I feel like Snute will win this game, but it's going to be a very, very hard task here with the Muta so out of position.
Scans being used, making sure those burrowed Banelings aren't going to catch his army off guard, and that's some good play. Snute waiting for the moment to take a good engagement. A lot of Lings coming in there. Remember, Thors do not deal well with Zerglings, and the infantry all but gone. In now come the Mutalisks. They're going to be trying to get some more damage down, and with those Ultras there, Happy's army just getting dismantled. And this should really now be GG for Snute. He should have this game.
I wasn't entirely sure how that was going to go since the Mutas didn't come in at the same time, but it was enough anyway. GG's called. Snute puts himself on match point. That was an exceptional game as well. Really back and forth like the other 2 games before this. While the score may be 3-0 for Snute, we are having some excellent games between these 2 players.